Al, we talked earlier this year about a trip to virtual Japan. Throwing babies into the water.
Throwing babies straight in the water.
Hanging out with Beat Takeshi.
Yep.
But now we gotta go back in time a bit.
That's a song.
Okay, yes. You're not wrong. We gotta go back in time to the far-flung past of... I don't remember when this game takes place. What year this game takes place.
Oh, no.
I'm just gonna stall for time. Hello, this is the Season Language Checkup OVA. It's episode number 95. If you are thinking about numbers, that's what they are. That's what this is. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. This is the podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium.
Thought you forgot my name.
No. I was just trying to think of something and then just paused a little too long.
Hello.
Oh man, what a season. Anyways, okay, the far-flung past of 2006.
2006.
2006.
2006.
I mean, you don't say 1906 is 1906. 12 years ago.
It's the year I graduated.
Jesus.
I graduated in 2006.
I mean, I graduated 2 years after you, so.
That's because you're 2 years younger than me.
That's true. But yeah, I finally got through Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is the remake of Yakuza 2. After that game came out at the end of August. Just took my sweet time with it.
Whoops.
But before we get into that,
in your defense, you've been busy.
Yeah. And then I also played Spider-Man in between, so that kind of took some time away. And also that game took me like almost 40 hours to get through, so it was a decent chunk of time. But before we get into that, I want to talk about something else.
Okay.
That you don't know about.
Uh-oh.
We know we've been kind of doing these last couple of episodes where it's just like we kind of bounce back and forth between different things. You know, last week we talked about the Nintendo Switch Online launch, and then we talked about Xenoblade 2 DLC. The week before that, we had the Grab Bag, where we talked about a bunch of different stuff that I don't remember now because it's been 2 weeks.
Oh my god!
It was a bunch of stuff. But I wanted to hear something from you, some opinions, some thoughts. So I thought, there's something we could talk about before we dive into Yakuza.
Okay.
A game that is also Japanese.
Okay.
A game that you have kind of gotten obsessed with.
Uh-oh.
Why don't we talk about a game that I've been playing for, the past, since like 2015. Let's talk about a little game called Love Live School Idol Festival.
Yes.
The greatest mobile game to ever come out.
I mean, it's really fun.
So yeah, this game's been out for a long time. And especially in the world of mobile games, that's kind of saying something. It was released in Japan in 2013, came out worldwide in 2014, and still going. Still getting supported, still constantly getting new stuff added to it for both versions. Which is, in the landscape of mobile games, like, usually they don't necessarily have that big of a shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of them will kind of come and go, and, maybe they'll be there for a few years, get supported, and then eventually, service goes away. But with this, it's just kept going, and I think it's helped as well that, the Love Live franchise has grown since its launch, where it was just, the first series, and then obviously they came out with Love Live Sunshine, the new series back in 2016, which added a bunch of new stuff to this game, obviously with new characters, new songs, all that sorts of stuff. And, they're just now adding in like a third idol group just strictly for the game only, which is going to, extend the life of the game even further. And then also, with they're going to have it collaborate with the upcoming Love Live School Idol All-Stars, where supposedly the idea is that you download All-Stars and it would have a launcher for both games.
Oh.
And like all the stuff that you have in School Idol Festival would work in All-Stars.
Ooh.
Supposedly that's how it's supposed to work. I mean, that's what they talked about like a while back. I don't know if that plans have changed or anything about that or not, but that was initially the idea. But we're talking about School Idol Festival right now.
Mm-hmm.
The mobile rhythm game set in the Love Live universe franchise thingamajig. So weirdly enough, like I got into this game by watching someone else play it and was like, that seems kind of cool. I'll play that. Having no like context for like what Love Live was. Like I knew of it, but I hadn't like watched it or anything yet. So I got knee deep into the game and then eventually decided, hey, I should probably watch this anime to get a little bit more context about what's going on. And then 3 years later, I'm still playing it every day, regularly. And I somehow managed to rope you into playing it.
Yeah, so I think it was like around July-ish.
Yeah, sometime in the summer.
You're like, hey, you should maybe play this game. I'm like, all right, I like rhythm games and I'm stressed out. And so, like, maybe I'll just play it as a calming thing.
Which I feel like I'd been kind of trying to get you to play it for a little bit. Even like, just like, why don't you play some Love Live School Idol Festival, huh? And you were just like, eh.
Yeah, I'm not good about mobile games, period.
Which I think,
also, I guess after the whole YG thing, I was a little burned.
That's a fair point. Like I think obviously this is a way better game than the YG game was entirely. And I think one of the things that helps this game as a whole is that it's really not egregious about like, hey, pay us money to get stuff.
Right.
Like they have their stuff where like, here's a little bundle, you'll get like some love gems, which is the premium currency. You'll get like a scouting ticket, you'll get some like items and money to help you out, but like they have their own little section for that. It's kind of hidden away. If you want to go see it, you can. If not, you really don't have to. And like there's enough ways to like accrue the premium currency within the game that you really never have to pay money if you don't want to. And you can still be successful in playing the game. And I think like it's a huge thing for that game to make it be viable and just like appealing to people, because when people think of mobile games, they think of, especially gacha style mobile games, they think of, well, this is just gonna try and bleed me dry and be a cash grab, make me gamble my money away. And like, I mean, this obviously has that aspect where you can pay money and just funnel it into this game, but like the actual game is never just like yelling at you like, hey, pay us money, give us money for this best value. It's just like, hey, if you want to do this, we have these options for you. If not, cool. It is what it is.
Yeah, basically.
And I say that as someone who's probably spent like multiple hundreds of dollars on this game.
What?
Yeah.
You have?
I have.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I have been playing this game since 2015. And like regularly. So like my view with like free to play mobile games is that, if I'm getting like a good enough enjoyment out of it, like, yeah, you can have some of my money. Like that's fair, I think. And to be playing this game regularly for like 3 years, like, I don't feel like that's a bad value proposition that I've given them that much money.
Yeah.
Because I've put like, God, I would say I've probably almost put like 1,000 hours into this game. Like it's the one game that like I'm kind of glad doesn't have a stat tracker for like hours and stuff, because it would probably be just ridiculous. I mean, I do have like the stat tracker of like, I've logged into that game over 800 days or something like that. So like, I feel like I've been able to value my time with that game in a way that, other games of the genre or just games in general like might not. So like, I understand like just the weirdness of giving free to play games money in general, but I feel like with this, like they've earned it with the way they've respected me as a player and a customer, I guess, and just valued my time throughout the entire experience.
I've logged in for 72 days. I just checked.
And you've probably put in a ton of time into it as well.
Oh, probably don't even want to know. I think my grand total of how much money I've put into it's like $5.
Which isn't bad.
No, which I'll have to show you the UR I got from that. I forgot to show you.
But yeah, like it's definitely a game that I've taken a break from and come back to and just always thoroughly enjoyed. Like there's the rhythm game aspect of it is a lot of fun. There's enough variety within the different difficulty levels within the songs themselves to give you like a challenge when you need be, and just also to keep it interesting and fun throughout. I think the exclusive like stories they do for the game, whether it's just like the character specific stories or the whole group stories that they create for the game itself, are very good and well done and fit within like those characters. And even if you're coming to it as someone who like hasn't watched the show or anything, like you can still get an idea of like who these characters are, like what their characterizations specifically are, like how they differ from the other characters, what the relationships are with the other characters, as a good primer for you to like go and watch like the animes.
So I have to tell you something funny.
Okay.
Ha ha ha. I'm in my Discord server, and I had sent out a link to one of the songs by Aqua. I had sent out a song on there. I was like, I'm listening to the song and it's great. And one of the guys like, wow, that's really good. I like that song. And I was like, hey, you should try out School Idol Festival. And so he's been playing it without seeing the show. So it's pretty funny. He is currently ranked 21. I just checked.
Nice.
So I was like, I'll be friends with you if you get it. So he's somebody who has not seen the show at all, but is still playing the game. And I had seen the show.
Yeah, you were the opposite. Because you only watched Sunshine and then played it. You haven't watched the original Love Live.
But it's been fun. And I mean, they're continuously adding content, which is really great. Like, we just got a song the other day.
Yeah, like, they usually are constantly adding songs. Like, every time there's, like, a story update, there's a new song attached to that. There's events happening all the time, which bring in new cards. And they also bring in cards on the regular with updates as well that you can try the gacha luck for, so.
Oh, my God. The game doesn't want me to have Ruby, period.
Until the Ruby birthday poll, where you got, like, 5 good rubies.
Well, that was partially because I went insane to make sure that I had enough gems to do the best ruby pulls, period. I was like, I am gonna get a good ruby out of this.
And you did.
I did. I got like an SSR and a UR and a bunch of SRs, and it was great. I got so many rubies.
Gumba Ruby.
Gumba Ruby!
So yeah, obviously this is a huge ad for you to watch or go to listen to Jared to now watch Love Live Sunshine.
And also just watch Love Live Sunshine, and also just play School Idol Festival. You can hit us up on game. It is. You can hit us up on Twitter and be like, hey, let's be friends, and we'll maybe friend you. We'll see.
I'll see if I have space in my friends list.
We have to see how many friends list people we can get rid of. But yeah, I've been a little crazy about it. I currently have 153 gems,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a little insane.
But it helps that
I
like you're a newer player, so like you have, all of the normal cards that you can idolize and stash through all those, get love gems. You have all the story stuff you can go through and get love gems. You have all the songs you can go through and get love gems. Like there's so many avenues for you to like just accrue wealth in this game.
Yeah, and I'm like 50 XP away from being ranked 90,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because, like I said, I started like 70 days ago.
Yeah, you've just been cruising.
Um, but I play it like every single day. I
Mm-hmm.
play multiple times a day. It's so fun, and I love these songs. And I will fully admit on the record, I don't play as much on the Muse side just because I'm not as familiar with them, and I don't really like their like style as much.
Mm-hmm.
But even with me like somewhat neglecting half the game, I still like love my Aqua side.
Yeah.
And that's where I tend to live is just on
Just
their
hang out
end.
over there.
Yeah. Like, hey Chica, what up? She just encourages me because that's what she does.
It's true.
Tells me to eat a Mikan.
Yeah, like like we've been saying, like, it's really good.
It's really good.
Especially for a free to play game. Like I really can't go out and say like there's a better experience out there for a free to play game, at least that I've seen personally.
Yeah.
Like this sets a high bar.
Well, and I mean, like, it's got a combination of things that I feel like is an extreme positive. It's got really fun songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's got a good mix of like cute Japanese idol pop stuff, but then it's got like some other stuff in there too. That's a little bit different and it's fun. It's got really good gameplay. Everything feels really intuitive and like the user interface is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Honestly, one of the big reasons I play this is because it's so cute. All the cards are so cute. Like I was literally just on eBay looking at all the outfits because I'm like, look at all these cute outfits they made for this. This is insane. I'm dying.
If
Um,
if you like feeding idol girls to other idol girls to make them stronger, this is the game for you.
Basically, yes. But I'm somebody who really likes like cute outfits and that kind of thing. And so seeing like the new cards and new outfits and all is really it's fun for me. I don't do well with gacha, but that's just because my luck is shit, like literal utter.
Xenoblade 2 will
So
tell you that.
I still have not got Cosmos, but I can't get like any of the UR rubies ever except for on Ruby's birthday. But and that wasn't the Ruby birthday one. I got an actual UR
Mm-hmm.
of Ruby, but I was so mad at you that day that you got the UR Ruby. So mad at you.
I literally like got it. I was like, oh no. I texted
Oh,
you, I
I'm
was like, you're
so
gonna be
mad.
so mad at me.
So my gacha luck is pretty terrible, but even still, like I've gotten a lot of cute cards of other people, and it's one of my big things. I like to like look at the art of the characters
It's
and
good
what they've
art.
created. It's really good art. At least on the Aqua side, there's sometimes that like I get a Muse card, I'm like, ooh,
Well, some of those cards are like from when the game
old.
launched, and they're old, and that art is not great.
Yeah, so uh but yeah, even if you're like me and you just stick on one side of the fence, then like even still you have a ton of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's a lot of fun.
There you go.
Um oh man, I'm excited we got to talk about this.
Love Live School Idol Festival. Download now. It's
Um
great.
I want us to Photoshop Yakuza and School Idol Festival together.
Oh my god. Oh god.
We could do it.
I'll try.
The question is, whose head goes on which body? Are you going to put Yakuza characters into School Idol Festival? Or are you going to put School Idol Festival characters into Yakuza?
That's a great
Mm,
question.
tough.
That's a really great question.
I look forward to the results.
Oh boy, that's a There's a steep hill to climb. Alrighty, let's talk about some gritty crime drama.
Not School Idol
Not
Festival
School
and not
Idols.
cute Japanese girls
No,
singing cute
if
songs.
we want to talk about idols and Yakuza, we would have to talk about Yakuza 5, and that's a different game altogether
Yep.
because it does have a complete idol section in that game.
Oh my god.
So Yakuza Kiwami 2, as I said earlier, the remake of Yakuza 2. It's been redone all in the Dragon engine, which is the engine they use to make 6. So it's all like you can seamlessly go into any building. You can run into all the bicycles and make them all explode.
Explode. God.
It looks fantastic. Like it's a gorgeous looking game. Like with the first Kiwami they did with the remake of 1, they've added some new stuff to this version, based off of some previous releases. So, in Kiwami 2, they added in a new story based off of Majima, which kind of ties back into some stuff from Yakuza 0, and also explains like why he is out of the Tojo clan in the beginning of Kiwami 2 or in Yakuza 2. So kind of like some backstory for that. Basically, the tie into Yakuza 0 is really, really well done. And like really ties like that story, like, or at least gives like a good finale for his storyline in Yakuza 0 in a way that was like, this is a gritty crime game. Why am I getting so emotional? Oh, God. But yeah, like it's really, really, really well done, especially because it's not that long. It's kind of just like this little side thing that you get to unlock. They bring back the Cabaret Club manager portion from Yakuza 0 as well, which is really, really good. It's basically the same thing from 0 in here. It's just a little bit of like a different story they attach to it and some different mechanics, but for the most part, it's if you played the minigame in 0, it's pretty much the same thing here. And then they also bring back Clan Creator from Yakuza 6, but changing it a little bit to where like the Clan Creator mode in 6 was more like, you know, you would gather up all these people into your clan, and in the actual gameplay portion of it, you would just send out like waves of enemies and have them clash with each other. In this, it's more like tower defense. So you have like your group of like 8 dudes, and you just place them on the map, and you hope that they don't let the enemies break through and break your stuff. And like with Yakuza 6, they add story to this by adding in more pro wrestlers.
Oh my god.
Which is, it's weird in this one because it's all like classic wrestlers from like the 80s and 90s. So it's all like legends from New Japan Pro Wrestling. So you get all these old guys. You have like Keiji Muto, Masahiro Chono, Riki Shoshu, Genichiro Tenryu, and Tatsumi Fujinami. But they're all their kind of like their wrestling personas, but as real estate dudes. And it's real good. Like, they all say, like, their catchphrases and stuff. Like, Masahiro Chono has this, like, fashion brand in the game. Because why not? And it's really well done. It's so well done. They do, like, the face scan, and, like, they have all them those guys, like, voice their characters. So, like, Tenryu just sounds like he's just garbling marbles the entire time. He's like, that's how he sounds. And that's literally how he speaks. The facial capture is so good that you get to see all of, like, Keiji Muto's like blade scars on his forehead from where he cut himself to bleed in wrestling.
Oh, why?
Oh, that's how you would bleed. You would take a razor blade and cut your forehead, and that's how you bleed. Welcome to professional wrestling. So you get to see all those scars on his forehead. Yeah.
That's grody. Seems a little unnecessary.
I mean, yeah. Welcome to That's Wrestling.
Welcome to pro wrestling.
Yeah. So yeah, like all that stuff, all that new stuff in that they added is really, really well done. There's new arcade games, so you get to play Virtua Fighter 2, which I think has been in previous versions of it. But they also added in Virtual On, which is the first time that's been in a Yakuza game, and that game is, as someone who had never played Virtual On before this, like that game rules. But also it's a mech game, so like, yeah, of course I'm gonna think that.
Yeah, of course. I'm not surprised by you liking a mech game.
Ah, it's a big surprise.
Wow. Who would have thunk it?
And then there's also just a butt ton of like mini games that you can do, like there's darts, which I think which they kind of just brought over back from 6. You can go gambling in some casinos where you can play some poker, some blackjack. You can play mahjong. You can play shogi. I think you can play like Hanafuda, and just a bunch of other, activities like that. They don't necessarily bring like back the bar friend mechanic from 6, where it's like you go into a bar and like hang out with people, but they bring that back like once or twice, and it's in like the Clan Creator and Cabaret Club mini games. So like there's one time where it's just you going to get dinner with a bunch of the old wrestlers.
Oh my god!
And it's like just them trying to like read off this like menu, and they're like they can't, and it's real goofy. And then another time is like you go and have like a welcoming party for like some of the girls in the Cabaret Club mini game, and they do it for that as well. So it's kind of cool that they bring it back for that. What's up?
What is Yakuza?
That's a great question.
What is? It's crazy. It's so all over the place, but like. It sounds like every time I listen to it, I'm like, this mechanically shouldn't work, and yet it does.
No.
I don't understand.
Okay,
I love it.
From everything that I just said, even like not even getting into like the main story, what genre is a Yakuza game?
I don't know.
Right?
Like it. You have a mix of like the tower defense. You have a mix of like social sim.
Mm-hmm.
You have a mix of like just brawler.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is Yakuza? It's hilarious to me because like it's not a game that I would ever play. I will never play this series of game. That's just how it is. But I love hearing when you play it because it makes me laugh. You're like, hey, look at what I just did. I'm like, what is this game?
It's always so interesting because like, the main story is like very serious.
Right.
And
that's what you tell me. Is it like every time the main story is like super serious and like has some gut punches in there and everything, and I'm like, but also you're running around with like a freaking Lego head and like I don't know, becoming friends with this weird guy on the street because why not? And I'm like, what is this game? It's like if Yu Narakami decided to grow up and be a Yakuza,
right?
But you still have Yu's personality and stuff in the game. He just wants to befriend everybody and take care of the cats.
It's just so goofy because like you can have like these very serious moments, and then like when the game's like, okay, now you get to go to this next part of the mission, and you can be like, what if I did all these side stories instead? What if I went to a Club Sega? What if I went to go beat up some old pro wrestlers? What if I went to go run my cabaret club?
Like you showed me a picture with like it looked like a wedding, but it had like a woman in an orange head mask.
Which is really good because like, so that's the Onomichi mascot character from Yakuza 6.
Okay.
That they have Kiryu dressed up as and like work as. They bring him in, or they bring that character into like the Clan Creator, so like that makes sense. Yeah, like that character would be able to fight and stuff because obviously Kiryu dressed up as it and fought people in Yakuza 6. Then they gender bend it and let you have that character in the Cabaret Club minigame. And it's just a lady in an orange dress with the mascot head on.
Mm-hmm.
And like her one stat that she's really good at is partying.
Every time I hear this game, like I said, it's delightful. Every time I hear you do anything in this game, I'm like, what a delightful game. But at the same time, I'm like, what is this game? And again, I will never play them because it's just not my thing, but I love when you play them. They make me laugh so hard when I get screenshots because I'm just like, what the actual
That's basically all you can say because there's just so much you can do in these games that honestly, it's ridiculous.
Like explode bikes.
Like no other game out there is letting you have this much like freedom in them. And well, I guess in
I don't know.
this
You
sort of
can't
way,
throw the baby in the
you
water.
can't throw the baby in the water. Like most games, you'd be able to like explore the city and go do some stuff, but like with the Yakuza games, you get to basically there's so much variety that you can do. Like it's not just like, oh well, you have a few mini games. Like there's multiple mini games and they're all completely different from one another. There's like multiple just different things you can go do throughout the entirety of these cities. Like, and there's 2 cities in this game, so there's variety with that, and it's just amazing that they're able to cram so much content into these games and not make it seem like it's completely overwhelming you. It's super fascinating that they were able to pull this off for so long. Because like you see something like Shenmue, back in '99, and how, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember what the word I'm looking for is.
What is it like?
Well, like how it was kind of like it was too big for it. It was too ambitious.
Okay.
That's the word I'm looking for. It was very ambitious, and you could tell, like, they had a vision for something, but it didn't necessarily pan out. And like the Yakuza games, obviously, people like to say like, oh, they're like kind of the spiritual successor to the Shenmue games, but done way better. And you can kind of see that, especially nowadays, where it's just like there's it's kind of the same idea of like the old Oblivion or Skyrim thing. Like, oh, you see that mountain, you can go there. You see that building, you could probably go in and like do something. I don't know. There's gonna be something for you to do around here. It's so ridiculous, but it's so good. Like I'm really glad that like this series has really kind of blown up after like Zero came out, and like more people are really like getting to experience like this entire genre and series as a whole, because they're so good. Like the only downside is that like I feel like they're kind of done remaking the games after this, because basically 3 through 5 was all on PS3, and they re-released 3 on the PS4 sometime earlier this year. So I don't think they're going to give that the Kiwami treatment, which is kind of a bummer. But it is what it is. But yeah. Hey, we should probably talk about the actual game.
Yeah, maybe.
The actual main story.
You want to?
So like I said, this game is split into two cities, kind of like how 6 was, but this is Kamurocho again, which is, if you don't know, is based off of one of Shinjuku's red light districts, Kabukicho, if I can learn to speak right. And then they have a town in Osaka, which the Yakuza version of it is called Sotenbori, and it is based off of a town called Dotonbori.
Oh my god.
So pretty similar there. This basically picks up right where Yakuza Kiwami 1 left off. So here's some spoilers for Yakuza Kiwami 1, the end of it. Basically that entire game is you feuding with your former Yakuza brother, and it's all over like this missing money. You're the guy who basically fathered you but isn't your dad dies by telling you, hey, I killed your parents. Whoops, by the way, I'm dead now. And then so like the whole entire Tojo clan is in like chaos, because like everyone's dying, and then like there's no one to lead it. The person who's leading it basically dies, and then by the end of it, it's like Kiryu is the new leader of the Tojo clan. Except at the end of the game, Kiryu's like, nah, I'm done. I'm not doing this. And he lasts like a single day and is like, I'm out later. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And he instills this dude named Terada, who is like this former guy from the Omi Alliance, which is the Yakuza clan from Osaka, and who has basically kind of come over here to help out in Yakuza 1. And Kiryu's like, hey, you want to do this? Go ahead and do it. You're in charge now. Later. So he basically goes off and he's gonna go and take care of Haruka, the little girl who eventually grows up to have the baby that you want to throw in the ocean.
Throw in the water,
Yes.
yeah. Which, I won't spoil anything. Anyway, I wanted to throw the baby in the water.
You did. If you want to listen to that, go listen to the Yakuza 6 episode.
Yep.
Before the game actually kind of starts, there's a flashback to like the 1980s. And it is, you see this detective, and he is following these Korean mobsters. And you see one of them get brutally shot up, and you see that it is Kiryu's dad, quote unquote, the guy who dies in Yakuza 1, just blasting them up. This detective basically runs in after, doesn't like go after them, but finds this mother and her child, and the mother is basically about to throw the child out a window because the building is burning down. And the detective's like, hey, don't do that. That's dumb. Like, let this child live. You both shouldn't just like kill yourselves for no reason. And that's kind of like the base premise of this game, is that, you know, that flashback has very much meaning into this game, and, you know, over the course of time we'll eventually get to it. Flash forward a year after Yakuza 1, and that's where we are for the beginning of Yakuza 2. You go to a graveyard. You're going to go pay your respects to all the people who died in Yakuza 1. The new chairman of the Tojo clan, Terada, shows up. He's like, hey, what's up? What you doing here? You pay any respects? I'm doing that too. Sup? And then, oh god, here comes some assassins, and they murder him.
Oh god!
In the graveyard.
I guess if you're gonna die in a place, graveyard's a good place to do it.
While Terada is dying, he gives Kiryu a letter, and he's like, hey, go to the Omi Alliance and give this to their chairman. So Kiryu's like, well, the Tojo clan's in danger again. They don't have anyone to lead them. What do I do? So he comes up with the idea of like, there was this guy named Dojima who is in charge of the Tojo clan throughout like Yakuza 0 and at the beginning of Yakuza 1 before he gets murdered. Kiryu's like, that dude has a son. What if I got his son to lead the clan? That seems like a good idea. But the only problem is that this kid who is named Daigo is just like, he's a punk little shit now.
Oh god.
He's really rocking the mid 2000s fashion. He's got a puffy jacket. That's like really bright colored. Well, it's white, but it's like bright white. He's got a chain. He's living the life.
Wait, is it a wallet chain?
No, like he's wearing like a necklace.
Oh, that's even worse. Jesus.
So like Kiryu hunts him down. And he's like, "Hey, you gotta go lead the clan now." And Daigo's like, "No, like no,
I don't.
I don't want to do that." But eventually, he's like, they have a fight, and then eventually they're like, "Okay, we're gonna go to Osaka and we're gonna go meet with the Omi Alliance." So they go there. Before they meet up with the Omi Alliance, Kiryu goes into like this nightclub. And he meets a fellow by the name of Ryuji Goda, who is the son of the Omi chairman. And he leads his own clan within the Omi Alliance. For context, Kiryu is called, his nickname in the Yakuza franchise, which we've probably talked about in 6 and other places. He's called the Dragon of Dojima, because he's got a big old dragon tattoo on his back. Ryuji is the Dragon of Kansai. He also has a dragon on his back. So these two have a little meeting, let's say. They meet each other in this nightclub, and Ryuji's like,
I was gonna make a joke, but I won't make the joke. It's inappropriate.
What's the joke?
I was gonna say they listen to some Ursher. They're gonna make love in this club.
God, please.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Ryuji kind of flat out says like, "Hey, because Kiryu doesn't necessarily tell him who he is, and when he does, Ryuji's like, "You're not that Kiryu. Come on." But he's like, "So there's only room for one dragon in all of the Yakuza in Japan, and it's going to be me. By the way, there's going to be some fireworks in Kamurocho tonight. Look forward to that.
In sync. It's going to be me.
It's going to be me. Kiryu leaves the nightclub and then goes out, and there's this big TV displaying the news, and oh god, the Millennium Tower has had like the top floor exploded. Everyone's like, oh god, why? So the next day they go to Kiryu and Daigo go to the Omi Alliance. They're like, hey, let's talk about this thing that happened. That was real bad. What if we kind of had some peace talks? And like, yeah. And then the claimant's kind of like, yeah, okay. But like his officers are like, no. What are you talking about? Like, we're not doing this. That's dumb. So, basically everything kind of goes bad. And then Ryuji's like, what if I plan a coup and overthrow my father?
Oh,
I'm gonna take him hostage. So that happens, and then you fight Ryuji, and you have a big fight, and then you leave, and then you get arrested by the Osaka police. Here is where you meet.
This is getting bad.
You meet a lady. You meet
A lady.
You meet Detective Kaoru Sayama, who, weirdly enough, is going to become a love interest in this game.
Not surprised.
I don't know, like. Kiryu seems like the type of person, like they try to make him like flirty and all like the cabaret club stuff. He does not seem like the person who's like touched a boob before.
Oh, he's not touched a boob before? Okay.
He does not seem like the type of person who's touched a boob before.
Okay. I haven't played it, so I didn't know that.
So Kiryu gets arrested. Kaoru is like a member of the anti-Yakuza task force. Like that's her department. And basically, the Osaka police has put Kiryu kind of under like protective custody. They're like, hey, we can't have you dying over here. That would be real bad. So like, we're going to have her stick with you. Make sure like you don't do any dumb shit. And along the way, we learn about her backstory where she's like, yeah, I don't know what my parents are. That's real weird. Oh, by the way, this old lady that I kind of stay with was like, yeah, the Tojo clan ruined her life. And I overheard that one day, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I should probably figure out a way to find out why. So now we're going to try and find out why. In Tokyo, which is where Kamurocho is, Kiryu's friend Date, who's also a detective, basically gets brought into the precinct to talk about like the bombing that happened. And he gets placed with this other detective who is named Kawara, or we're just going to call him Jiro, because that's way easier to pronounce. So they bring him in because he has experience with a certain type of gang from like the 80s. It's a Korean gang.
Okay. And
so he's brought in, but Date is like real like weary about him because there's all these rumors about Jiro and how like he just anytime something goes bad on a job, he just straight up murders people. So he's just like, I don't know about this. Like, I know your reputation.
That's not good.
That's not
Maybe
good.
Don't do that.
So like they're tasked with like, okay, who did this bombing? We have to find out who did this bombing. Their first lead they get is they go to this club called Stardust, which is where some stuff happened in Yakuza 1, and the owner of Stardust is like friends with Kiryu and all of them. And basically they have him pegged as like, maybe he's one of these Korean mafia dudes. So keep that in mind.
Korean Mafia.
Back in Osaka, Kiryu and Sayama find out that Daigo and the Omi chairman have been kidnapped. And by the way, a sniper tries to murder Kiryu and Sayama. Sayama gets shot, and Kiryu's like, oh god, I gotta run and figure out a way to get her medical help. So they do that, and then eventually they have to go back to Kamurocho. That's where they meet up with Date, And so they've been investigating Stardust, and they figure out like, oh, this version of the club owner isn't exactly the same person. And they basically, all four of them kind of converge on this like building, and it turns out there's two versions of the same dude.
What?
Yeah. One of them is from the Korean mafia, the other is just the real dude.
Oh God.
And then the fake version gets shot because he pulls guns on everyone and shoots a couple of them, and then he gets murdered. So basically, they have to find a way to get the real owner like medically fixed up because he gets shot as well. So they take him to like this kind of back alley doctor who heals him, heals up the murder detective because he got shot as well. And basically, everyone's like, well, this is bad. We got to figure out some answers. Let's see here.
So what are the answers?
What are the answers? We'll find out that sometime soon. So basically, with everything going on, Kiryu's like, well, things are going bad. I bet, with Ryuji having his father and Daigo kidnapped, like, they're probably going to march on us sometime soon. Like, that's going to go really poorly. So Kiryu and Sayama, like, they split off from everyone else, and they are like, okay, let's go find some people that Kiryu knows, get him to help get some people to help the Tojo clan, and maybe this won't be as bad. So the first person they go to find is Majima. And Majima, as the side story will tell you, like, he is divorced himself from the Tojo clan. He is out. He has now made his construction company. They have that flyer that says, we build. That guy.
I remember this guy now.
And he is basically kind of like holed up down in Purgatory, which is kind of like this place where the homeless live, or at least they used to live. But it's also like this den of like where a bunch of shady people live. Like, there's casinos down there. There's an underground fighting coliseum. And that's what you have to go through to get him to jump on board. You have to like go through the fighting coliseum and end up fighting him. And basically, you're like, hey, what if you help the Tojo clan again? Not saying you have to rejoin or anything, but just, kind of help us out to make sure we don't get completely destroyed. And Majima's like, yeah, okay. They also find a dude by the name who calls himself the Florist, who has like he's basically kind of like an information broker, but also he has like this like big room where he has like access to all like the camera feeds throughout all of Kamurocho. So like if anything's going on, he can tell you what's happening. In Yakuza 1, he was kind of doing that by himself, and this game he is working with the police again because he was a former cop. So they get him to help and be like, hey, if anything bad happens, like, tell us, or if you find Daigo, tell us. And they find Daigo and basically get him out of the kidnappers, beat up a bunch of people. And then Kiryu's like, oh, by the way, I got to go to a funeral. I got to go to Teruda's funeral. And then during the funeral, Ryuji shows up with a bunch of his dudes and is like, hello, I'm just here to tell you that in like 3 days, we're all going to come marching down to Kamurocho and destroy everything, beat you up, and I want to fight you. Yeah, I get that this is a funeral. I know I'm an just wanted to tell you that. By the way, all those other guys, my guys that kind of came in and tried to beat everyone up, yeah, they're just hot-headed. Don't worry about it. But anyways, 3 days. Remember, we're going to fight. So there you go. What else happens? Oh, yeah, so like later on that night, there's a coup within the Tojo clan. One of the family, like one of the higher-ranking officers is like, well, I'm going to take over now because everything's in disarray, so I can do that. And Kiryu's like, no, you're not doing that. And beats him up and is like, well, all right, solve that one.
Guess I'm not doing that.
They find out that like this dude had like kind of partnered up with one of the officers from the Omi Alliance, and they're like, oh, crap. This is real bad. And let's see. So while all this is going on, they learn more about like the Korean mafia. and they learned the backstory of like why they're coming back now, and it's because that if you remember the scene from 1980 or the 1980s that they did at the very beginning of the game, that was that entire like Korean mafia getting just wiped out, save for like a handful of people who went into hiding, and now like they're trying to come back and enact revenge because like their mafia creed is that like, you know, if you die, you can't die without like honoring the clan, the mafia, like the clan. So like they find Kiryu and Sayama find one of the survivors in Osaka. He was the old dude in the shogi parlor. So they go talk to him about like what happened, and he gives them kind of like a brief rundown and everything. They also kind of figure out that like, hey, maybe Sayama is one of those survivors. Like maybe she's got a little bit of that Korean mafia blood in her. That might be awkward. So the old guy kind of tells them like what happened. Like the Tojo clan came and like attempted to wipe out that entire Korean mafia. A few of them survived. And he's basically he was one of the survivors, but he also kind of sold out some of the people who survived and like led like some of like the mainland mafia members to come and like murder them. But while they're getting this information from him, here comes the Korean mafia to come and like murder him because like, hey, you led us to him, thanks, now we're gonna kill him and kill you. So you beat up everyone, and you think it's all good, but he like the old dude gets a knife kicked into him.
Oh God!
Right into the gut. And then all the Korean mafia dudes just like they have these rings, and they break the rings and just down this powder and like commit suicide.
That's bad.
So everything just goes real bad there. And you're just like, oh God, what is going on? And then you're just like, oh God, I gotta go to the cabaret club.
God.
So after all that happened, like Kiryu and Sayama like kind of go off to like this like walkway which just kind of overlooks the river in Sotobori, and Kiryu's like, by the way, you know how like my kind of dad murdered all like those people and maybe your family? I might have been there too. And like so you get a little backstory of like baby Kiryu as like a 14-year-old going to the Kazuma family headquarters, and it was like, hey sir, you didn't come to the orphanage for Christmas, is everything okay? And the dude's like, go home, you can't be here today, it's real bad, get out of here. So Kiryu's like, oh, I gotta make sure he's okay, so I'm gonna follow him. And so Kiryu's dad was basically gonna be like, hey, you know, I don't necessarily agree with the order to murder all these people. I'm going to try and like get them out and like sneak them out. So like, there's like, hey, just don't come back here, and in exchange, we're not going to murder you. So like he was kind of like going over that plan with like the head of the Korean mafia there. And then Kiryu shows up and is like, oh no, this is bad. He's going to try and murder my dad, and like runs in and just ruins everything.
Oh no.
He's like, oh God. So like Sayama learns that and just like gets real mad and is unhappy about it. And Kiryu's like, well, you know, if you want to make it up or if you want to like make even, you could just kill me. Like if that would help you. And she's like, you're a idiot. And just leaves. After that happens, Kiryu just kind of like stays there and like for like hours, and then it starts raining and he's just standing in the rain trying to smoke a cigarette, and then some like homeless dude walks by him, drops a can, and is like, Kiryu's like, oh, here, homeless man, I will help you get this can for you. Oh God, I've been stabbed in the stomach.
The homeless man stabbed him?
The homeless man stabbed him because he was an assassin.
Oh
no. So Kiryu's like, oh God. So he has to walk.
How many times has this man been stabbed in the stomach?
Oh boy, it's
honestly.
This isn't even. This is like the beginning of it. So he's walking through like the entire like Sotenbori, just like holding his guts in and just like bleeding everywhere. He's like, I gotta get to this place to make sure I can get healed. And then he does. So he gets healed up kind of, and then you find out that the assassin left a note with him, and it says, "Hey, one of the Omi Alliance guys kidnapped Haruka. You better come and get her." And Kiryu's like, I'm gonna murder these people.
This is the little kid, right?
That's the little kid. So Kiryu has to travel to this big castle. This is where this dude's hanging out, and he fights his way through everyone. Right before he's able to get to the dude and Haruka, the dude's like, "Hey, what if you fought my 2 tigers?"
You told me about this.
Yeah, and then you have to fight 2 tigers. Because of course.
God.
So you fight the 2 tigers, and then you get to like the dude's like office, and Kiryu's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you." But
like I did your 2 tigers.
Yeah. So like he's gonna do that, but then like Ryuji shows up, and he's like got like a big sword, and Ryuji's like, "You're a piece of shit, you know that?" Talking to like the other Omi officer dude, like, you have to stoop so low to kidnap a kid. Like, why not just go and like fight them with your power? So Ryuji's like, "Yo, you," and then just takes it, like, just slices him across the chest. This Omi officer dude, and then the guy's like, "Oh God!" And then Ryuji just takes the sword out and just shanks him, and then pushes him off like the castle, like out of the balcony. And he's like, "Hey, by the way, 2 days, we're gonna fight." That dude was a real piece of for his antics. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna come and beat you up. All right, later. And then Kiryu's like, "Oh, hey, Haruka, I'm sorry you had to watch this dude get brutally murdered in front of you."
You okay, buddy?
You okay, buddy? All right, we're good. Which is really, it's good after that, because like, I think they let you have some downtime in Osaka, so like you get to hang out with Haruka, and she's like, "Hey, let's go to all these places and hang out." So, like,
is that when you took the selfie with her?
That was a little bit later, but basically it's the same premise. Like, because you get to walk around the town with her, and she'll be like, "Hey, I want to go eat at this place." So you have to figure out, okay, what place sells takoyaki, and you have to go find that, and then you get her, and you're like, "Yeah," she's like, "Yay!" And then there's a meter. You get to fill up her trust meter.
She's a trust meter.
She's a trust meter.
Oh my God.
I got it all the way up to like B, and then she was like, "Hey, why don't you win 1,000 chips in poker?" And I was like, "All right, this, I'm done."
So she doesn't trust you?
I mean, she trusts me like at a B level. It's better than when it was like at an F.
Jesus. Oh, hey, my nose is bleeding.
That's bad. Did you get into a fight?
Maybe. Anyway, continue.
So basically, you know, after all that goes down, you go back to Kamurocho. I'm trying to see here. Okay. While you go back to Kamurocho, you get into like, you have to drive back there, and of course it's a Yakuza game, so they love their weird driving fight scenes. So like a bunch of the Korean mafia dudes just show up, and you have to like jump out of the car, or out of this van you're in that you were just sleeping in, and then you jump onto like these flatbed trucks and fight a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, okay, of course.
While they're moving.
Why not?
Which was fun, because you just like take people and just like throw them, and they would just fly off the bed of the truck. So that happens, and then you beat them up. You beat them all up, and then you make your way back to Kamurocho. When you get back, Date's like, "Hey, by the way, we think there's a mole in the police. It's this really high-ranking dude. He is one of the survivors of the Korean mafia. By the way, there's also a bunch of bombs around the all around the." Oh, I say they learned there's bombs. They learn there's bombs later, but eventually they're like, "Hey, there's bombs all around the city. We will have to deal with." But they eventually have to go find this police mole who is named Kurohashi, and he calls Kiryu and is like, "Hey, why don't you come to the Millennium Tower? I got some people you might want, because he's taking Date hostage. He's taking the florist hostage, and him and Sayama and Jiro go in there, and break in. So here's where you get kind of like a bunch of the backstory of like why Jiro was like murdering a bunch of people like on the job, and it was because like he was involved with that Korean mafia case back in the 80s that he knew like anytime a Korean, like any of the survivors were coming back, and he was just like straight up murdering them. So like,
Jesus.
so it was like all these like reports like, oh, this illegal alien gets murdered, and he was like, no, they were from the Korean mafia, and I just murdered them.
God, it's a little racist. I mean, obviously, mafia is not that good, but
also he reveals that, hey, by the way, I'm Sayama's real dad.
What?
I banged the wife, or like the wife of the Korean mafia boss. And we had a kid together.
Plot twist, Jesus.
Yep.
What do you do with that information?
So you fight a bunch of people here. You fight Kurohashi, and then you think everything's fine, and then he straight up shoots Jiro a bunch because he jumps in front of Sayama to save her from getting shot, and then he dies. And she's like, "Oh no, my dad, he's dead." And she's like,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that.
It's just, I mean, look, everything that's going on, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Drama llama.
But basically, he kind of tells her that, like, the reason, like, I wasn't, like, your actual dad was because, like, you had this blood in you, and I had to kind of stash you away to make sure they never found you, to, like, brainwash you into thinking their whole ideology was good and everything, so kind of had to make sure you're away. Also, the kid that I saved back in the 80s from the opening cutscene, that's kind of your half-brother, but I can't tell you who that is yet. Rest assured, I had to stash him away as well. Anyways, I'm dead now.
Bleh.
Then after that, they learn about, like, there's a bunch of bombs planted around the city, so got to do that. And they're like, oh yeah, they're all gonna detonate on the anniversary of the attack, which is also the same day that Ryuji's gonna invade the city. So it's like, well, so they kind of gather all like the remaining men of the Tojo clan, and Majima brings his dudes, and they go out and disarm all the bombs, which it leads to a very good cutscene of Majima like going after the final bomb, and just like he has one of his dudes just like under it going to cut all the wires, and then Majima's just like looking at it, like the bomb, be like, we should cut the red wire. And the guy's just like, Stip, oh god, it's fine. And then the line's like, well, there's 2 wires left, what do I do? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Oh no.
And that's how he decides which wire to cut, which is, it's fine, it all works out really well, but it's really, really dumb and goofy.
That's terrifying. Why?
Because it's real good. That's the only reason. In between all of that, they found this file that Kurohashi had, and they try to get Sayama to like decode it there at the place, but they can't because like the information's too encrypted. Which her backstory is that like she's like a computer engineer that like became a cop somehow, so she's able to kind of like decrypt a bunch of stuff.
It's an odd job trajectory.
Well, she wanted to become a cop to find out like her family history. So, but like she goes back to Osaka to like, all right, I'm going to decode this file and figure out what's on it. She finds out that in the file is a file about Ryuji, and she's like, okay. After the whole bomb situation goes down, you meet up with Date and one of his cop buddies, and he decrypted the file as well. And he gives you 2 files. One's on Ryuji, one's on Sayama.
He's the half-brother.
He's the half-brother.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Like while you were having that meeting, she comes back and you're like, "Hey, did you find out what was on that file?" And she's like, "Nope, didn't happen." Oh man, the system there wasn't that great. And then like Dante's caught by, he's like, "Well, gotta go. I'm just gonna take these files and run." And she's acting real weird. So like she's like, "Oh, by the way, my superior officer is here. He's in the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Station. He's in this one room. You should probably go talk to him. All right, just go and get out of here." So they do that. Date and Kiryu go to like this room, and Date knows what the room is. He's like, "That's not where you would go to meet someone. That's real strange. Like, why would you do that?" And basically, she kind of lays out like, "Hey, so I know me and Ryuji are siblings now. That's real messed up. And I know you want to go fight him tonight. Too bad. I'm going to go find him first and make sure I stop all this to make sure none of my family dies again, because that would really suck." So that's her plan.
Okay.
Is that she's going to try and talk Ryuji out of doing anything. Kiryu, on the other hand, has to fight through a bunch of people, a bunch of Korean mafia dudes throughout all of Kamurocho and make his way to the Kamurocho Hills construction site. And that's where the whole fight's gonna go down. So eventually they get there. Kiryu gets there, and he sees Sayama and Ryuji are there, and also the Omi chairman, Ryuji's dad's there. Everyone's there. They're all like, "Hello, we're all here." So they eventually are like, "Okay, well, Ryuji and Kiryu have to fight," and they have their fight. Kiryu wins, and you're like, "Okay, well, that was that. That seems like we're about to wrap everything up." But someone else shows up. Someone who we thought was dead shows up.
Oh.
If you remember, we saw Terada get murdered in the graveyard. Turns out he didn't die. He's alive and kicking. He's like, "Hey, congratulations, everyone. You brought my script to life. This is real good. By the way, I'm one of the survivors of that Korean mafia attack 20 years ago.
Oh my god, everybody's tied to it.
I'm the leader. It was me all along, Kiryu."
It was me, Dio. Holy.
So he's like, "Yeah, we've been playing this for like 2 decades, all this." And Kiryu's like, "You realize my dad like saved your life back then? Like he let you go and didn't murder you. Like, are you gonna tell me like all that was like him helping you get a cushy officership job in the Omi Alliance, him looking after you?" And Terada's just like, "Well, revenge. Let me tell you about revenge."
That's some long game revenge.
It's long game revenge, yeah.
God.
So Terada's plan is like, "Well, I'm gonna kill Kiryu, I'm gonna kill Ryuji, and I'm gonna take over the Weekend Tojo clan and also take over the Omi Alliance, and just make it all mine and have the Korean Mafia become explodingly big." So you fight him, and you beat him up. And then you're like, "Yay, we did that." And then here comes this other dude who shows up, who's also like one of the Omi officers from that original meeting. And he shows up and shoots Terada and is like, "Hey, by the way, we were working together, but turns out I'm more of a snake than you. I'm going to turn on you, and now everything's going to be mine."
Oh my god.
So this dude shows up, murders the head of the Omi Alliance, and straight up just blah, blah, blah. Shoots Kiryu a few times, shoots Ryuji a few times, shoots Terada a few times, and then Terada's like dying. He's like, "By the way, there's a..." He tells you this before everything goes down. He's like, "Hey, there's a bomb behind you. You know, if things don't go my way, I'm going to blow the shit out of this place." And then as he's dying, he's like, "Hey, by the way, remember my bomb? Click. Now it's activated. Go yourself." So that happens. This new dude who shows up, Takashima, basically is like, oh crap, I should have probably seen this coming. And then Ryuji like wakes up from his fight induced nap and is like, I'm gonna murder this dude. It just like stands up and just starts unloading into him. And the other guy is able to get off like 2 shots into Ryuji, but Ryuji just straight up murders the out of him. This is the point in time where like your thing is like, and Ladium's online. It was right after like all this gunfire is happening. I was like, all right. So the bomb is about to go off. The only ones left alive up there are Ryuji, Kiryu, and Sayama. And Ryuji and Kiryu have 2 gunshot wounds in them. And there's also a bomb that's about to go off. So it's a great point. Great point.
I'm glad you contributed, buddy.
So while the bomb is ticking down, Ryuji and Kiryu are like, what if we had another fight? That sounds like a great idea. And Simon was just like, you guys are idiots. There's a bomb about to go off. We need to get out of here. And they're like, what if we had another fight? So Sayama tells Ryuji like, hey, I'm your sister, dumb. Stop this. And he's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. You look like my mom.
Oh my god.
Anyways, you're on this elevator. Later. You're going down. We're gonna fight. So you have another fight, and then you beat Ryuji yet again. Sayama comes up because she ran up the stairs to come back up, and just like, dumb, we need to go. And Ryuji's just like, oh, I'm so beat up. And they have like a heart to heart about like, he's like, hey, do you remember mom at all? That sucks. You look a lot like her. It's cool that I have a sister. Anyways, I'm dying.
Does he die?
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you mean pretty much? You either die or you don't. Well, I guess you don't in this game, but
he was already beat up and he was kind of bleeding out from his gunshot wound, so
yeah.
He died.
Yeah, but like the main guy can get stabbed and shot in a billion times and he survives.
Is tough. Too tough. Kiryu is also just like, he's standing there and like, oh, well, we gotta do something about this bomb. Oh, no, I'm passing out.
Oh.
And Sayama's just like, hey, we need to go. We need to get off this building. The bomb's going to go off. Date and like Haruka show up in a helicopter and are like, you guys need to get off the building. The bomb's going to explode. Leave. And basically Kiryu sees that like the timer is really, really ticking down. He's like, I literally cannot make it off this building. Like, I'm going to stay here. Like, there's no, I have to stay here. And basically Sayama decides to stay with him. And they're going to stay up there and die together. With the bomb. Kaboom. And then you see them get a smooch and a hug as the helicopter flies away. And Kiryu's like, well, we kind of did Haruka wrong, didn't we? Because we're going to die. That sucks. Anyways, well, we're going to explode here soon. You watch the timer hit 0 and then credits roll.
Does he get to touch a boob?
I mean, they're kind of like about to die. I don't think touching a boob was on his mind, but maybe he does.
It might be if like you're if you've never done it before.
That's true, yeah. So yeah, the timer hits 0 and roll credits. The credits are very long.
With butt rock.
Oh God, why'd you have to remind me of the bad credit songs? They're so bad. After the credits roll through, there's a post-credit scene. You see Haruka at the graveyard from the beginning of the game, and she's praying at a grave. And you're like, oh no, Kiryu's dead. But then she's like, oh, thanks Terada. You were real nice. And then the camera pulls out, and you see Kiryu and Date standing behind her. You're like, did the bomb go off? What happened? So they actually they make this very kind of obvious, but when Terada gets shot the first time, you see him fall, and you see something fall out of his jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a weird shaped object. And right as he's about to activate the bomb, he looks at Kiryu and is like, hey, trust me. And then activates the bomb. At this post-credits epilogue, Date is holding the device that was found there, and he's like, man, it's a good thing Terada didn't put the detonator into the bomb. Whew. We would be all in a lot of trouble if that happened. So basically, the bomb was just a huge dud. It was not going to do anything. So that happens. And after that, you see Sayama roll up, and she has flowers, and then they put flowers on the grave, and then her, Kiryu, and Haruka walk out. And that's the end of the game.
Wow.
Which makes it very interesting, because it makes me, because I haven't played Yakuza 3, but it really makes me want to play Yakuza 3, because obviously Sayama isn't in 5 and 6. So something happens to her. And all the things I've heard about 3 is literally just like Kiryu's running the orphanage. So like, I was assuming that at the end of this game, Sayama was going to get killed off.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, I knew like she was like the love interest that they put in for the series, but then, you know, from the games I've played and later on, like she's nowhere to be found. So like, what happens to her and where does it happen? Like, we're in the games.
Break up. Because she's like, dude, I'm tired of you coming home with stabbing bullet wounds all the time.
Stop getting beat up. Stop letting people fight you all the time.
So she's just like, you know what? I'm done. Just leaves. That's her story.
Because the only time you ever see Kiryu in like a relationship, because I haven't played through. I played a little bit of 4. I haven't played through all of it, so I don't know if that happens any time in there or not. But in 5, he's like, in the beginning of 5, he's living in like as like under another identity, just to try and get away from everyone. And he has like a somewhat of a relationship with someone, but it's like nothing. It's nothing real serious. But it's not Sayama, so I don't know. Yeah, so if anything, like it has me curious to play Yakuza 3 now. So
Makes sense.
I guess that's a good thing. So, you know, hopefully they either put this out, they put like the PS3 version on PS4 at some point, or I just track down the PS3 version and play that. But yeah, Kiwami 2 is really, really good. Not a big surprise, but I definitely heard a lot of people talking about how like the story of this was a lot better than like 1, and it was like it was a very strong showing of a story, and I think it really does that in general. So I think they do a really good job with this story, and it was definitely fun to play through, especially with just like the way all the work they put into remaking it and everything. It was a fun, jaunty time through the serious and goofiness of a Yakuza game.
Fun, jaunty time.
Fun, jaunty times. I mean, what other game allows you to go eat some chicken strips, go play some Virtua Fighter, and then go to a bar and drink a Yamazaki?
That's a song.
Just like the song. That's Yakuza Kiwami 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is this? I don't understand.
I know.
I love it and I don't understand it.
Yeah, like I know you said like you would never like play these games because they're not your cup of tea, but I bet you would just enjoy like watching them because they're so bonkers.
I agree with that. I probably would. It's just like every time you tell me anything about it, I'm just like, what is this series?
It's why I'm like really excited for like the new game they're making that's kind of set in the Yakuza universe, but it's not a quote unquote Yakuza game. Judge Eyes, which is it's essentially what if the Yakuza team made an Ace Attorney game?
What?
Which even that from that premise alone, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Because literally the game is like you're kind of like you're a detective, but it's set in Kamurocho. It has the fighting mechanics from the Yakuza series, but you get to go to all the places that you know and just like in a different story. And it has like all these like investigative like aspects to the game as well. So it's like, so from the demo I played that like you'll have like, oh well, we've heard of like the subject, we have a description of the subject. Go to this place and see if you can pick out who it is and if which one of these people matches this description. And then like you might have to like tail them, might have to go around to like a crime scene and like look at stuff and investigate that way. There were some aspects they showed from like gameplay trailers where it's like you'll have to like dress up in different costumes so you like gain access to places to investigate. Like it sounds really, really interesting. And just with that team, like I am totally down for whatever they decide to do. Like with all the games that like with the way they've done all these Yakuza games and the amount of trust they've built up, like I am totally down for them to try something wacky like this and see if it works. Because like a Yakuza cross Ace Attorney game or like Ace Attorney style game in like the Yakuza universe just sounds so bonkers, but like they could totally make it work.
I mean,
I mean, the main character has the attorney badge and everything.
oh my god.
Hopefully, I mean, there is at least one point in time in like a trailer that he does the point.
Oh my god.
I also hope you're able to just like take your badge off and be like, hey, what do you think of this?
It's one of the best things about that game.
It really is. Oh man, you know what's sad?
No.
The Ace Attorney anime is coming back.
Why?
And they're doing the best game in the series.
Oh no.
Maybe they got better. Maybe it's gonna look better and not be a weird mishmash of stuff.
Do you believe that for a second?
I mean, the Persona 5 anime just happened, and we know how that went up. So
Yeah.
Poor coffee drinking prosecutor. He's gonna get done dirty. Poor baby Phoenix. He's gonna get done dirty. What a shame. Anyways, that's Yakuza Kiwami 2. It's really great. You should play it. And play all the Yakuza games. They're real great.
Also play School Idol Festival.
Yes.
Also really great.
Also really great. You know what this episode had? Great games.
It's true.
It's very true. But that's gonna wrap this episode up. Where we went knee deep into some Japanese games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like more from us, go to seasonlandcheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts. Like there's a new episode of the Mainline Season Anime Checkup up.
It's true.
Where it's covering summer and fall of 2018 in anime. Here's some inside baseball about that. I was doing that recording and inadvertently cussed during it. And I immediately cussed, and I was like, in my head, I was like, oh my god, you idiot. You have to, okay, look at the time code. Where was it? Okay, go back and edit it and bleep that. I was so mad at myself. It's like, oh, dang it. So that's up. You should go check that out and listen to that. Go listen to Jared and I'll watch, where we're watching Love Live Sunshine, so you can watch along with us and hear our thoughts and opinions about each individual episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good. It's a very good podcast. And it's a very good show.
I agree.
There you go. There's also columns and reviews on the site as well. There's a brand new column on the site.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's the first time that's happened since like December of last year.
Oh my god.
I wanted to talk about the end of Hanebado and just what I thought about that, and kind of wrote 2,000 words about it, and was like, all right, let's throw this on the internet. So you should definitely check that out. I thought it was real good in my opinion. Al looked at it. She read through it all and made it look better than what it originally looked like because she's the good part of that.
Oh my god. Thank you, but also it was good.
Thank
I
you.
liked it. I didn't even watch the show, but I enjoyed it.
I feel like you know more about that show than
Most people?
most people because I've had you read like 2 different pieces I've wrote about that show.
I think I'm on 3.
You might be on 4.
Oh, wow.
But
I
like
might
there's
be
2
on.
that are directly related to the show. The other 2 were kind of like based around the show, but not really like about the show.
Okay.
But like the last 2 I wrote were definitely like this is very intrinsical to like the aspects of this show. So you would definitely know a bit more than the average person.
The average Joe.
You'll know why I compare the main character to a wrestler.
That's just because you're you.
That's because I'm me, but like they're very similar characteristics. Why you shouldn't stick around in abusive relationships.
That's true.
Those are things that are covered in that article. So you should definitely go check that out. It's up on the site right now. If you go to seasonalcheckup.com/columns, it'll be right there. Or just scroll down the homepage, and it'll be right there, along with everything else. What else? Hey, Ann Ladium. That's you.
Hi, that's
Go
me.
to annladium.com. She has columns and reviews on her site.
Yay.
You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. It's where we do the Twitter. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA if you would like to donate and help support our podcast. Next week, once again, no idea. We'll have something.
Yeah, we'll have something.
But nothing concrete as of right now. I don't know. We'll think of something. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to whatever we do next week, and we're on the road to episode 100.
Wow.
We got 5 more weeks.
We're so old.
We are so old. So hey, look forward to November 10th episode where we join the triple digit club. I don't know if we're gonna do something special for it. It's just gonna be another episode, but like, hey,
We'll think
something
about
to look
it.
forward to.
It might depend on like what's going on in life.
Yeah, exactly. That's usually how this always goes.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about like earlier this week about, hey, we need to start thinking about a new Jared and Al watch topic, and then we're just like,
We just puked everywhere.
we did, and that's another show that just revolves around like, hey, depending on our life situations, like it can be real hard to do that show.
Yep.
So inside baseball for you, but hey, tune in next week for
Good times.
Cool Pals Jared and Al.